Would you save the life of a predator who could one day turn against you? This is the story of a man who did, and learned the hardest lesson about trust and nature. In a remote village at the edge of a vast forest, there lived a simple farmer named Arjun. He was a kind man, known for his gentle nature and his respect for all living creatures. Every morning, Arjun would wake before sunrise to tend to his small farm. His life was humble but peaceful. The villagers often warned him about the forest. Never go deep into the woods, they said. Dangerous animals live there. Wolves, bears, and creatures that hunt in the darkness. But Arjun was not afraid. He believed that if you respected nature, nature would respect you back. One autumn evening, as the sun was setting and painting the sky orange and purple, Arjun was returning home from his fields. He heard a strange sound coming from the forest edge. It was a low, pained whimper, almost like crying. Arjun stopped and listened carefully. The sound came again, weaker this time. Against his better judgment, Arjun followed the sound into the forest. He pushed through the bushes and walked carefully between the trees. The whimpering grew louder, more desperate. Then he saw it. A large gray wolf was lying on the ground, trapped under a fallen tree branch. The wolf's hind leg was caught and bleeding. Around the wolf were signs of a struggle, broken branches and disturbed earth. It appeared the wolf had been running from something and had been injured when the heavy branch fell during a storm. The wolf's eyes locked onto Arjun. They were yellow and intense, filled with pain but also with a wild, dangerous intelligence. Arjun's heart pounded. Every instinct told him to run. Wolves were predators. They were dangerous. But as he looked at the suffering animal, his compassion overcame his fear. "Easy there," Arjun said softly, approaching slowly with his hands visible. "I'm not going to hurt you." The wolf growled weakly, baring its teeth. But it was too weak to do much else. It was losing blood, and if it stayed trapped much longer, it would die. Arjun looked around and found a long, sturdy stick. Using it as a lever, he carefully lifted the heavy branch just enough for the wolf to pull its leg free. The wolf immediately tried to stand but collapsed, too weak from blood loss and pain. Arjun knew he should leave. He had freed the animal. His job was done. But something in those yellow eyes made him stay. "You'll die out here alone," Arjun said, more to himself than to the wolf. "And I can't let that happen." Making a decision that would change his life forever, Arjun tore a long strip of cloth from his own shirt. He carefully wrapped the wolf's bleeding leg, talking softly the entire time to keep the animal calm. "There, that should slow the bleeding," he said gently. The wolf watched him with those intense yellow eyes, no longer growling, but still wary. Arjun knew he couldn't carry the massive wolf back to his home. It was too heavy and too dangerous. So he did something that amazed even himself. He decided to build a temporary shelter right there in the forest. For the next 3 days, Arjun stayed in the forest with the injured wolf. He brought food and water from his home, walking back and forth. He changed the wolf's bandages, cleaned the wound with herbs that his grandmother had taught him about, and made sure the animal was comfortable. The villagers thought he had lost his mind. "You're healing a wolf?" his neighbor exclaimed when he learned what Arjun was doing. "It will kill you the moment it's strong enough." But Arjun didn't listen. He had made a commitment to help this creature, and he would see it through. Something remarkable happened during those 3 days. The wolf, which had been hostile and defensive at first, began to change its behavior. It stopped growling when Arjun approached. It ate the food he brought. It even allowed him to touch its head gently. On the 3rd day, as Arjun was changing the bandage, the wolf did something unexpected. It licked Arjun's hand. Arjun looked into those yellow eyes and saw something different now. Not just intelligence, but something that looked almost like gratitude, perhaps even respect. "You understand, don't you?" Arjun whispered. "I helped you and you know it." The wolf made a soft sound, almost like agreement. By the 5th day, the wolf could stand on its own. By the 7th day, it could walk, though with a slight limp. Arjun knew it was time to let the animal return to the wild. On that final evening, as the sun was setting just like it had been when they first met, Arjun removed the last bandage. "You're healed now," he said with a mixture of happiness and sadness. "You're free to go back to your pack, back to your life." But the wolf didn't leave. It sat there, staring at Arjun with those piercing yellow eyes. Then something extraordinary happened. The wolf bowed its head low, almost like a gesture of respect or submission. When it raised its head again, it looked directly into Arjun's eyes and made a sound that was neither a growl nor a bark, but something that seemed almost like communication. In that moment, Arjun felt he understood. "You're making me a promise, aren't you?" Arjun said softly. "A promise that you won't forget what I did for you." The wolf held his gaze for a long moment, then turned and disappeared into the darkness of the forest. Arjun returned to his village, feeling changed by the experience. He had helped a wild creature, and somehow, it felt like they had formed a connection that transcended the normal boundaries between man and beast. Weeks passed, and life returned to normal for Arjun. He worked his fields, tended his crops, and tried to forget about the wolf. But he couldn't. Sometimes at night, he would think about those yellow eyes and wonder if the wolf remembered him. Then one night, something happened that reminded him. Arjun was sleeping peacefully when he was awakened by a sound outside his small house. It was a low, rhythmic sound. Scratching. He got up carefully and opened his door just a crack. His heart nearly stopped. The wolf was standing there. But the wolf wasn't alone. Behind it, in the shadows, Arjun could see the glowing eyes of other wolves. A whole pack. Arjun's hands trembled. Had the wolf brought its pack to attack him? Had he been wrong to trust it? But then the wolf did something that shocked him. It dropped something at his feet and stepped back. Arjun looked down. It was a dead rabbit, freshly hunted. The wolf had brought him food. It was returning the favor, showing gratitude in the only way it knew how. "You remembered," Arjun whispered, tears forming in his eyes. "You kept your promise." This became a pattern. Every few nights, the wolf would appear and leave food at Arjun's door. Sometimes a rabbit, sometimes a bird, once even a small deer. The villagers were amazed and frightened. "A wolf is visiting your home," they said. "This is unnatural. This is dangerous." But Arjun felt honored. He had saved the wolf's life, and the wolf was repaying the debt in its own way. One evening, about 2 months after their first encounter, something more significant happened. Arjun was working late in his field when he heard angry voices and saw torchlight in the distance. A group of men from a neighboring village were approaching. They looked aggressive, armed with clubs and knives. Arjun's heart sank. He recognized them. They were bandits who occasionally raided small farms, stealing crops and valuables. "Well, well," the leader of the group said with a cruel smile. "A lone farmer with no one to protect him. How convenient." Arjun backed away. "Please, I have very little. Take what you want, just don't hurt me." The bandits laughed and moved closer. But then from the darkness at the edge of the forest, came a sound that made everyone freeze. A long haunting howl that echoed through the night. The bandits stopped, looking around nervously. The howl came again, closer this time. And then another howl answered it. And another. And another. Suddenly, emerging from the shadows like ghosts, came the wolves. 1, 2, 5, then 10 wolves surrounded the field, their eyes glowing in the torchlight. And at the front, the largest and most imposing, was Arjun's wolf. The grey wolf walked forward slowly, positioned itself between Arjun and the bandits, and growled. It was a sound that promised violence, a warning that was unmistakable. The bandits looked at each other in terror. "Let's get out of here," one of them shouted. They ran, dropping their weapons and torches, disappearing into the night as fast as they could. When they were gone, the wolf pack melted back into the forest, one by one, until only Arjun's wolf remained. Arjun fell to his knees, overwhelmed with emotion. "You saved my life," he said, his voice breaking. "Just like I saved yours." The wolf approached him slowly and for the first time since that day in the forest, allowed Arjun to touch its head. In that moment, Arjun believed that true friendship could exist between man and beast. He believed that the wolf had made a genuine promise and had kept it faithfully. He believed he could trust the wolf completely. He was wrong. Winter came to the village, bringing with it harsh cold and deep snow. Food became scarce, both for humans and for animals. Arjun noticed that the wolf's visits became more frequent. It no longer brought gifts of food. Instead, it came alone, and it looked hungry. At first, Arjun shared his own meager supplies with the wolf. After all, the wolf had saved his life. It was the least he could do. But as the winter grew harsher, something began to change. The wolf started coming during the day, which it had never done before. It would sit at the edge of Arjun's property and watch him. Just watch. Those yellow eyes following his every movement. At first, Arjun thought the wolf was simply visiting, maintaining their bond. But there was something different in its gaze now. Something that made Arjun uncomfortable. One day, Arjun's neighbor, an old woman named Lakshmi, came to him with worry on her face. "Arjun," she said urgently, "3 of my chickens are missing. And I found wolf tracks near my coop." Arjun's stomach sank. "Are you sure they were wolf tracks?" "I know wolf tracks when I see them," she replied. "And there's more. Other villagers are reporting missing livestock. Goats, chickens, even a young calf. The wolves are getting bolder." That night, Arjun couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what Lakshmi had said. Could his wolf be responsible? No, it couldn't be. They had a bond, a promise. But then he heard a sound outside. The sound of his own goats bleating in distress. Arjun rushed out of his house, and what he saw froze his blood. The grey wolf was in his goat pen. And it wasn't alone. 2 other wolves were with it. They had already killed one of Arjun's goats and were circling the others. "No!" Arjun shouted. "Stop!" The grey wolf turned to look at him. In the moonlight, Arjun saw something in those yellow eyes that he had never seen before. Not gratitude. Not friendship. Not even regret. Just cold, predatory hunger. "Get away from my animals!" Arjun yelled, grabbing a stick and waving it. For a moment, the wolf just stared at him. Then slowly, deliberately, it picked up the dead goat in its jaws. The other wolves grabbed what they could, and the pack disappeared into the night. Arjun stood there, shaking, staring at the blood in the snow. The wolf had betrayed him. After everything he had done, after the bond they had formed, the wolf had chosen its own survival over their friendship. The attacks continued and worsened. Every few nights, the wolf pack would raid the village. They were smart and coordinated, striking when defenses were weakest. The villagers were furious, and many of them blamed Arjun. "You brought this curse upon us," one man shouted at him in the village square. "You befriended that wolf, and now it thinks our village is its personal hunting ground." "I didn't know this would happen," Arjun said, his voice filled with guilt and confusion. I thought we had an understanding." An elderly man, the village elder named Ravi, placed a hand on Arjun's shoulder. "Son, you made a mistake that many kind-hearted people make. You tried to change a wolf's nature. But nature cannot be changed. A wolf is a wolf, no matter how much kindness you show it." "But it saved my life," Arjun protested. "It protected me from the bandits. It kept its promise." Ravi nodded sadly. "Yes, it did. Because at that moment, your interests aligned with its interests. The bandits were a threat to its territory too. But now winter is here, food is scarce, and the wolf is doing what wolves do. It's surviving. And to a wolf, survival means hunting. Your kindness taught it that this village was a safe place, a place where humans could be trusted and manipulated." The words hit Arjun like a physical blow. Manipulated. "Yes," Ravi continued. "The wolf is intelligent. It learned that by protecting you, by bringing you gifts, it earned your trust. And your trust meant access to this village, to our livestock, to easy prey. Whether it planned this from the beginning or simply adapted to opportunity, the result is the same." Arjun felt sick. Had the wolf been using him all along? Or had their bond been real, only to be overridden by the harsh reality of survival? That night, Arjun made a decision. He would go into the forest and confront the wolf. He would try one last time to reach whatever connection they had shared. He walked deep into the woods, further than he had ever gone before, until he reached a clearing where he suspected the pack made their den. "I know you're here," he called out into the darkness. "Show yourself." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then slowly, the grey wolf emerged from the shadows. It was alone this time. The two stared at each other across the clearing. Man and beast. Savior and betrayer. Why? Arjun asked, his voice breaking.
He saved your life. He healed you. He trusted you.
And you repaid me by attacking my village, killing our animals. We had a promise. The wolf tilted its head, as if considering his words. Then it did something that shocked Arjun. It sat down and, in a gesture that seemed almost human, looked up at the moon and howled. It was a long, mournful sound that echoed through the forest. When the howl ended, the wolf looked back at Arjun. And in that moment, Arjun understood. The wolf hadn't forgotten their bond. But the wolf was also not human. It lived by different rules, driven by instincts that no amount of kindness could erase. The promise it had made was kept according to its own understanding. It had repaid Arjun's kindness. It had protected him. But that didn't mean it would starve to honor a concept of friendship that only humans could fully understand. You're not evil, Arjun said quietly, tears running down his face. You're just a wolf. And I was a fool to expect you to be anything else. Arjun returned to the village with a heavy heart. He gathered all the able-bodied men and told them what needed to be done. We have to drive the wolves away from our village, he said. Not kill them, but make them understand that this is not their hunting ground. Some villagers wanted to hunt the wolves down and kill them all. But Arjun insisted on a different approach. We'll build better fences. We'll keep watch at night. We'll use fire and noise to scare them away. But we won't hunt them in the forest. The forest is their home. We just need to make them understand that our village is not. It wasn't easy. For weeks, the villagers worked day and night. They built stronger pens for their animals. They kept fires burning around the village perimeter. They beat drums and made loud noises whenever wolves approached. Slowly, the attacks decreased. The wolves learned that the village was no longer easy prey. The risk was too high, and there were other hunting grounds in the vast forest. But the gray wolf continued to appear occasionally at the edge of the forest, watching Arjun from a distance. It never approached, never attempted to raid again. It just watched. One evening, several months after that confrontation in the forest, Arjun saw the wolf one last time. It was standing at the tree line, illuminated by the setting sun. As Arjun watched, a smaller wolf emerged from the forest and stood beside it. Then another. Cubs. The gray wolf had a family now. The wolf looked at Arjun one final time, and Arjun could swear he saw something in those yellow eyes. Not an apology, because wolves don't apologize. But perhaps an acknowledgement. An understanding that they existed in different worlds, bound by different laws. Then the wolf turned and disappeared into the forest with its family, and Arjun never saw it again. Years passed, and Arjun grew older. The story of the wolf became a legend in the village, told to children as a cautionary tale. But Arjun's understanding of what had happened evolved over time. He no longer felt simple betrayal or anger. Instead, he felt a complex mixture of emotions that was difficult to put into words. One day, a young boy from the village came to him with a question. The boy had found an injured bird and wanted to help it. Uncle Arjun, the boy asked, should I help this bird? Or will it betray me like the wolf betrayed you? Arjun knelt down to the boy's level and looked at the small injured creature in his hands. Help the bird, he said gently. But understand something important. When you help a wild creature, you're not making a contract. You're not buying loyalty or friendship. You're simply doing what your compassionate heart tells you is right. The boy looked confused.
But the wolf hurt you.
Wasn't it wrong to help it? Arjun thought carefully before answering. No, it wasn't wrong to help the wolf. What was wrong was my expectation. I expected the wolf to think like a human, to value loyalty the way humans do, to override its own nature because of gratitude. But the wolf was always just a wolf. It didn't betray me because it was never truly bound by a human promise. Then what should we do? The boy asked. We should help when we can, Arjun replied. We should show compassion because it's part of who we are as humans. But we should also respect nature for what it is. A wolf is a predator. A snake is a snake.
A wild animal is wild.
We can admire them, we can help them, but we cannot expect them to become something they're not. The boy nodded, beginning to understand. Help that bird, Arjun continued. And when it heals and flies away without looking back, don't feel betrayed. Feel happy that you had the power to help a living creature in need. The act of compassion is its own reward. It doesn't need to be repaid. The boy smiled and ran off to care for the injured bird. Arjun watched him go, then looked toward the forest. Somewhere in those deep woods, perhaps the gray wolf was still alive, hunting with its pack, living according to its nature. And Arjun made peace with it all. Those were among his last words, and they became as much a part of the village's wisdom as the legend of the wolf itself. Remember, dear viewer, that kindness is never wasted, even when it's not returned in the way we expect. But wisdom means understanding that every creature, every person, acts according to their nature and circumstances. We can show compassion without demanding transformation. We can help without requiring gratitude. The wolf's promise was kept in the only way a wolf could keep it. And when nature demanded it follow different laws, it did. The question isn't whether we should help. The question is whether we can help without unrealistic expectations. Be kind. Be compassionate. But also be wise. Thank you for watching this story. If it made you think differently about trust, nature, and compassion, please share it with others.